Welcome back, reality-based athletes and coaches. Thank you for joining me for another video today. Before we get started on the next piece of reality-based athletics, I gotta call a few of you out here. I'm a little bit disappointed. I've seen some of the views go up, I've had some good feedback from everybody, but I haven't seen the subscriber numbers go up. So after you watch this dang thing, give that subscribe button a click. You'll get notifications when the new video comes out. So it's a win-win, I think. Now today, we are moving into rule number 3 of reality-based athletics, and that rule is buy-in is not optional. It's your actions, not your opinion, that adds the most value to your sport and your team. Before we dive in, I just want to be clear that this rule does get people fired up sometimes, and I'll admit when I was first learning it, I didn't quite agree with it right away. It kind of got me feeling, a little upset. But what I want you to know is once you do kind of internalize it and start to really give it some thought, it is one of the most freeing rules of the reality-based athletics philosophy once you start understanding it and putting it into practice in your experience. So this idea of buy-in is not optional is not to just benefit your coach and be his or her slave or robot that does whatever they say. It's actually one of the things that will give you the most peace as an athlete once you start to understand this breakdown that I'm about to do. So with all of that being said, let's get right into it. Now with this rule, we actually have to start backwards. We need to look at this, your action, not your opinion, adds more value first. And to do that, I'm gonna provide a visual which will be up around me, and you can follow along as I kind of break down this rule of buy-in is not optional, your action, not your opinion, adds value. And so as you can see here, when there is a decision made, now for an example of a decision is a play call, a game plan for one game, or kind of a strategy for the whole year. That's a decision, and that decision is oftentimes made by a head coach. And as you can see there in sport, whenever a decision is made like that, there are 3 roles where people on the team or the organization can fall into. There is first the decision maker, which is the head coach oftentimes. And after that, there are consultants. And these are the assistant coaches. These are oftentimes the captains who are almost in line with the assistant coaches. And then the last group of people are the informed. And these are everyone else who's just informed of the decision. So keeping those 3 roles in mind, in reality-based athletics, when an athlete says, does my opinion count? Do you want to know what I think about what we're doing, on offense, or what we're doing as a game plan? We always say it depends, and probably not, because has the decision been made? So in the most simple form, if a coach comes in to a group or a team and says, this is what we're gonna do today, the assistant coaches would then just echo what he said and just pass along the word without any judgment or story. They would say, that's what we're gonna do. Let's try and make that work the best we can. And then many of the players, our role is actually just to be informed because the coach has done his research, he's watched the film, he's got the experience, he thinks that is the best way that we can win. So what often happens is a coach describes what we're gonna do or describes the offense for the year, what defense we're gonna use, and the first thing either the assistant coaches or the players do is add their opinion about why that's not gonna work, why that's not a good idea, why that's never worked, when in fact the way you can add the most value as an athlete, or a coach as well, but mostly as an athlete, is to say yes and start doing all you can to make it work. Because your opinion will kind of stop the action, and your action is what moves it forward. And I must admit, for the longest time, I was one of those athletes that whenever a coach made a decision, I would just think about it so much and be like, is that the right thing to do for this game? Is that gonna give us the best matchups? Is that gonna put us in the best place for success? But the reality was that was his decision, and my opinion did not count at that moment because the decision had already been made. It was my job as a captain, when I was a captain, to inform the team of that without any oh guys, here's what we're doing today, this is gonna be tough to execute, but let's do it. No, it's here's what we're doing. And then everybody else, their role to conserve the most energy, eliminate the most mental and emotional waste, was just to say yes and start doing their best to implement it. Because what happens is when buy-in is not optional, it's not about the coach just forcing his will against you. It's actually about getting the right data points, which essentially means I made a decision, all my coaches helped implement it without, sabotaging it, and my players just said yes. They were informed and they used all their skills and effort to make it work. So when in the end, if we didn't win or we didn't have success, we can go back and actually make changes that will help. But if I make a decision and nobody buys in and they all have their opinions in there and they don't do all they can to make it work, well then we don't actually have really good data to make changes to our game plan for the next game. And what often happens is a coach throws that out there, he says this is what we're gonna do, and a lot of people aren't on board, and then when it doesn't work, they're like, see, it didn't work, but you don't even have really good data because not everyone was bought in, did all they can to make it work. Once you know where you are in the 3 parts of a decision, then everybody has the same role actually. It's to do whatever you can to make it work. And the great part about that is that ties right back in to personal accountability. That's the tie-in, that's where it all connects. And if you haven't seen that video, I will post it, in the description below, and you can see that as well. But once you have that ties right into doing whatever you can to make it work, and that jumps into commitment, the first part of personal accountability. That's very key. Now, I have 2 stories where I messed this up. One is more of just a mess up, the second is the realization, where it all kind of came together for me. So the first story, I have to go all the way back to when I was playing high school baseball, 14 years old or so. And for whatever reason, our program, they really liked, athletes that were clean cut. We'd practice from like 5 to 9 p.m. And my buddy and I, first year pretty committed, and then we started, really liking basketball, and we were trying to be these one sport athletes, which was the big craze. And so we started kind of not buying in. We weren't, coaches wanted our hair cut short, so we were growing our hair out. We were kind of messing around at practice. We were cracking a lot of jokes, not very focused. And so obviously buy-in was optional to me at that time. Now sophomore year, we lose in the first round of the tournament, and I decided to step down and stop playing, and I think, oh man, that baseball program's just gonna start going down. I mean, after all, star player me and my buddy are gone. And the craziest thing happened is in 2 years, where I thought because we stepped down, the program was gonna go down, they actually stepped it up more and more, and the leaders that stayed, that were in my grade, ended up getting the buy-in from all the athletes. They bought in, all the underclassmen, and they ended up winning the state title. It was almost like, not like a slap in the face, but it was like, geez, that shows that when everybody's bought in, and they're following the coach's decisions and trying to do all they can to make it work, what's actually possible. And my second story, my realization, actually came my freshman year playing college basketball. And the team I was on, our coach, his coaching philosophy was to run a lot of plays on offense, slow the ball down, kind of get the ball into one person, and the guy would go one-on-one. And a lot of the players were throwing in their opinions, like this isn't how I'd use this team, and this is the best stuff, and we could do so much more, and we should play this way. And eventually one of the assistant coaches comes in and it huddles us up, and he actually played for our head coach before, and he goes, guys, I spent like 2 years of my career doing the same thing you're doing. Coach was saying this is what we're gonna do, and I just was thinking it was stupid, and I talked to my teammates about it, and I'm like, this is how I would run it. And then I had this moment where I was like, what if I just accepted that that's how he's gonna coach us, and that's the best thing for the team, and I just use my skills to do whatever it takes to, when I get the ball within these plays, I make the most of it and look for places to score and set my teammates up and learn how to succeed within his decision. And he said, guys, I promise you, the moment I switched my mindset to that, about I'm just the one informed with what the decision is and what can I do to make it work, what can I do to do whatever it takes to add value to this team, my scoring, my performance, my play went way up, and I actually ended up being an all-conference player. And that's right where it hit me, that he found out that buy-in wasn't optional. That's the coach's decision. He could waste a ton of mental and emotional energy trying to fight it, trying to throw in his opinion, trying to waste time talking to teammates about how this is sick and wrong that we play like this when we have all this talent. He said, no, within this, that's the decision. What can I do to do whatever it takes to make it work and still succeed anyway? And the best part was how he summed it up. He said, the moment I kind of embraced that when a decision was made, now it's my turn to use all of my skills and what I was recruited for to make it work, do it the best we can. I was like set free as an athlete. I started playing a lot more smooth and in rhythm and open because I brought it back on me and thought about ways that I could make it work within this system. Now there's one more piece I want to add to this, and that's if the decision hasn't been made. So if your coach, for example, comes up to you and says, you know, I can't tell what's working and what's not working out there. Point guard, what do you think we should run? That's when your opinion counts. That's your time to step up and say, let's run this play. But same example, if you're a point guard and the coach calls a play and you're just like, oh, that play again, your teammates can see that you're already not committed to do whatever it takes to make that play work. So that play might fail, but you didn't know if that was the perfect play call because you didn't do whatever you could to make it work. You just needed to be informed there, but as the middleman just relaying the message, you rolled your eyes and said, geez, this play again, it never works. Then your teammates aren't all in to set the best screens, to cut hard because they know you're not in. Does that make sense? So I really hope those two stories, both where I messed it up playing baseball and the realization I had, can help you kind of understand that this buy-in is not optional, is not a terrible thing. It's not, you just gotta surrender to your coach. It's for your own peace. That once you figure out that that's the decision and I am just here to be informed, you can conserve all of that energy and you can put it into doing whatever it takes to make it work the best you can. So then your coach can have feedback to if what he's doing is not working. So I want you to do following this video is always be thinking about this question. What would add more value to the team? My opinion or my action to make it work? Always be thinking about that. And I guarantee you'll start increasing your value and eliminating your mental and emotional waste. That's all for today, my reality-based athletes. Make sure you give this a thumbs up if you liked the video, if it got you thinking a little bit. Click that subscribe button below and you'll get the videos right as they come out. Feel free to leave a comment below about, anything really, but if it's something about this rule or something you're struggling with in your sport or with your team or coach or teammate, or if it's just something that you want to talk about, leave a comment below. I'll be happy to answer them. And that's it. Happy playing days. Let's keep ditching the drama.
So just because it's been said before doesn't mean that you don't need to hear it. And just because I'm not the first to follow doesn't mean that I can't feel it.